Folks, to Crypto News Global. I'm your host, Nick Toka, and on today's show, spot Bitcoin ETFs mark their first anniversary with 4 among the top 20 in assets under management. That was January 10th yesterday. And the feature story of today is Meta shareholders request board to consider Bitcoin Treasury. Also, we're going to put Grok versus AI Chat GPT to the test. Today, we are going to create complicated charts quickly, and we are going to see which one does a better job and how fast they can create them. All this and so much more on today's show. Welcome, folks, to Crypto News Global. I'm your host, Nick Toka, and on today's show, we're going to go through our technical analysis for Bitcoin, and Bitcoin was going sideways again today, sort of sitting steady, and later on, we're going to put Grok AI versus Chat GPT to the test and see who can create the most complicated chart. I'll show you how to do it. You'll see there's no need to search Google anymore. These AIs can pretty much do anything Google can, and they can do it faster and more precise. So without further disruptions, let's get right into our technical analysis. So here we've got Coin 360, and we see Bitcoin, as mentioned, going sideways, up a tiny bit, 0.2% at 94,513. Ethereum up 1.5% at 3281. XRP up quite a bit, just under 9% at $2.53. And Solana going sideways at 187.37 cents. Doge up a couple percent at 33 cents, on the cusp of 34. Let's get into our market cap, and Bitcoin currently at $1.87 trillion, followed by Ethereum at $395 billion. XRP surpassed Tether again at $145 billion. Tether at $137 billion. BNB 100. Solana $90 billion. Doge $50 billion. Cardano number 9 at $35 billion, and wrapping up the top 10, we've got Tron at approximately $20 billion, and our total market cap is $3.24 trillion with a Bitcoin dominance of 57.76%, up a tiny bit. We've got XRP, the highest I've seen it, at 4.5% of total crypto dominance, and Ethereum down again at 12.2%. Let's get into our crypto bubbles for today. We've got ADA up 10%, XRP close to 9%, XLM, which is a fork of XRP, up 6.5%, XDC up 4.5%. Most things into the green, but no real huge gainers or losers. Of course, we see the AI coin, as much as it was up last week, now she is down this week. For the week, we've got almost everything in the red. AI coin leading the pack in the red. Rune down 33%. AI16Z down 42%. XTC, one of the lights, up 13%. BGB up 20%. Now let's get into the monthly view. And BGB, the big winner, at 132% in the positive. GT coin, 48%. Let's flip now into our crypto fear and greed index, and today is a greed at 62. Yesterday was a 69 in greed, and last week a 72 in greed. And our Bitcoin countdown for the halving, we have approximately 1,230 days until the next halving. There are 1,191,088 coins left to mine until the year 2140, when the last coin will be mined. And we've got 171,148 coins until the next halving. And let's go to our total market cap by company globally, and we have no real change here. Gold at 18 trillion, Apple at 3.5, Nvidia at 3.3, Microsoft 3, Google 2.3, Amazon 2.3. There's our Bitcoin at 1.873 trillion, followed by number 8, Saudi Aramco at 1.8 trillion, silver at 1.7, Meta 1.5, followed by Tesla to wrap up the top 11. And right now you can get 1,043 Satoshis for $1 into our US debt watch. Current national debt 36,339,600,000,000, and that's up approximately 6 to 7 billion from yesterday. And we're gonna watch it flip right. The numbers are going so fast here, folks. Currently, debt per citizen is 106,879, and debt per taxpayer in the U.S. is $323,045 U.S. Pretty costly for everybody. So things are going a bit sideways in the whole market, and I can't wait to see what happens over the next few days. Sadly, we have huge wildfires down in LA. They haven't done a great job in battling these fires from the beginning, and there's a lot of political turmoil down there, asking for the governor Newsom there to be ousted. Nobody's happy. The Hollywood stars are losing their houses. They're really outspoken now, and finally their word is getting out. My best wishes for everybody down there, and hopefully the winds die down and they can fight these fires and calm them down. So in a bit, we are going to put the two AIs to the test, the two main players, which are Grok, Elon Musk's X platform, and the one that most people know about, which is Chat GPT. And just to advise everybody here, you can now get Grok for free. You just need a Twitter account or an X account. And on the left, you've got a little icon that basically says Grok. So you get Grok version 2.2, which can do a great job in both images and in data and information. We created a bunch of great images over the past few days. You can go into the previous episodes to see what we've done and how we did it. Let's get right into our stories of the day right now. The spot Bitcoin ETFs in the States were approved on January 10th, exactly a year and 1 day ago, and they broke a bunch of records. Spot Bitcoin ETFs marked the first anniversary with 4 among the top 20 in assets under management. 4 spot Bitcoin exchange-traded funds figured among 20 ETFs with the most significant assets under management 1 year after their launch in the U.S. BlackRock's IBIT was the best performer among Bitcoin ETFs and also among the nearly 4,000 exchange-traded funds on a list made by Bloomberg ETF James Seyffart. The fund has over $52 billion in assets under management, so it is the number one ETF on the planet, and in terms of inflows, and it's been around exactly 1 year. Meanwhile, Fidelity Bitcoin ETF FBTC took fourth place with nearly $20 billion in assets under management 1 year after its launch. ARKB, the spot Bitcoin ETF managed by 21 shares in ARK Invest, stood 16th place with $4.4 billion in assets under management. Bitwise's BitB wrapped Bitcoin ETFs in the top 20 and 18th place with roughly $4 billion in assets under management. Safeheart highlighted that BitB and ARKB, managed by relatively small asset managers, were among the top 20 launches last year, expanding the list to the top 100 launches. VanEck's Bitcoin ETF HODL makes the cut with its $1.3 billion in assets under management, securing 99th place overall. Over 4% of global inflows. The two largest spot ETFs by net flows, IBIT and FBTC, represented over 4% of the global 1.14 trillion flows. Both funds ranked among the top 20, with IBIT being the best only by two traditional finance giants, the iShares Core S&P 500 ETF, IVV, and the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF VOO, which I highly recommend if you are going to get into the stock market or have been in the stock market. That Vanguard S&P 500 ETF is amazing. It only charges 0.03 management expense ratio, MER, and you're basically investing in all 500 companies on the S&P 500. So they do all the management for you. It's actually all electronic, and that's how they can afford to only charge you 0.03%. But if you're in the stock market, I would highly recommend going for that Vanguard VOO, because we're not Warren Buffett, and we can't predict the stock maybe today or tomorrow, but overall, over time, the stock market always goes up. No matter what, the stock market is always going up. So in saying that, if you hold for the long term, your ETF will go up. There's only 0.03% management expense ratio, and they pay an 8% dividend. Key, 8% dividend. Highly recommend it. Another significant milestone was surpassing gold ETFs in their first year. According to Bitwise, gold ETFs registered approximately $2.5 billion in flows in their launch year, while U.S. traded Bitcoin ETFs secured over $37 billion in inflows. In their best year, gold ETFs inched closer to $30 billion in inflows, which is way below the Bitcoin ETFs registered in their first year. Furthermore, in mid-December, the cumulative assets under management of all Bitcoin ETFs, including spot, derivatives, and leverage, surpassed the total assets under management of gold ETFs. Notably, according to Farsight Investment data, despite a significant outflow of nearly $570 million on January 8th, U.S. traded spot Bitcoin ETFs still registered $462 million in positive net flows this week before closing on January 10th. So we've got lots of money going into Bitcoin with all these ETFs, and I'm loving it. And in 1 year, they have effectively become cumulatively and BlackRock single-handedly have amassed a huge amount of assets into that ETF. It's just amazing. I'm happy to see it. Let's move on to our feature story of the day, and that is that Meta, the parent company of Facebook, shareholders request board to consider a Bitcoin Treasury. And you know what? I predict they will make a Bitcoin Treasury, because unlike Microsoft, I didn't think I'd say this a couple years ago, but I like what Zuckerberg's been doing lately with free speech. Meta shareholders propose Bitcoin integration to protect against inflation and boost shareholder value, highlighting BTC robust historical growth. Meta, a Meta shareholder has submitted a proposal to urging the company to assess the potential benefits of incorporating Bitcoin into its treasury. The proposal highlights Bitcoin historical growth and its potential as an inflation-resistant asset compared to the traditional cash and bonds. Meta shareholder board to consider Bitcoin treasury as per the proposal by the end of the year of 2024, that is, by December 30th, the price of Bitcoin had increased by 124% in the year, which was even better than the average performance of bonds. In the last 5 years, the price of Bitcoin has risen by 1,265%, while bonds have been a distant second with an average return of 1,245%. Amid this announcement, Bitcoin price has seen a recovery, with the price swaying between an intraday high and low of 95 and 92,000 respectively. The submission also points out that cash and cash equivalents, which account for $72 billion out of the $256 billion of Meta's total assets as of September 30, 2024, are vulnerable to depreciation owing to inflation. It posits that integrating a part of these cash reserves with Bitcoin may be a way of preserving shareholder value even with the known volatility of Bitcoin. Bitcoin adoption among corporations and institutions. The proposal emphasizes the transition of Bitcoin from an investment to a payment method to a treasury asset for companies and institutions. MicroStrategy, a business that acquired Bitcoin early, claimed that its equity rose by 17,000% through its BTC in its balance sheet strategy. Likewise, Square, now Block, was 2.5 times better than the Nasdaq index and 12 times better than Meta's performance. Moreover, BlackRock, the second biggest Meta's institutional investor, has introduced Bitcoin ETF that turned into the most popular ETF in history. BlackRock has also come out in public stating that 2% of investment in Bitcoin is a good approach toward investing for the future. Now, BlackRock is Meta's second biggest investor. So there is a possibility that the shareholders at Meta say, hey, you know what? We already have a good exposure into Bitcoin because of BlackRock. And maybe they don't go out for it. But I have a feeling they're going to vote yes, and they're going to put a small amount in there. The Meta shareholders' proposal is that an allocation of this kind for Meta's treasury could demonstrate progressive financial stewardship and be consistent with other leading companies. Yeah, they need to stay on par with companies that are going to surpass them. According to the proposal, Meta's leadership and its stakeholders have displayed interest in Bitcoin and its ecosystem. Meta's founder, Zuckerberg, and its board members, Mark Andreessen, who is also a member of Coinbase's board, has previously supported blockchain and cryptocurrencies. The shareholder agrees that Meta shareholders should receive treasury management strategies that are similar to the sophisticated financial management strategies that most probably some of Meta's directors and executives have used. The submission also mentions several companies and governments considering Bitcoin or already implementing in their treasuries. For example, a bill was recently submitted to New Hampshire legislature, which provides for the ability of the state treasury to hold Bitcoin as a reserve asset together with precious metals such as gold and silver. This is all part of the U.S. states. Many states have now requested permission to adopt Bitcoin as one of their treasury reserves. In the same way, public firms such as Heritage Distilling Holding, just announced the other day, and Genius Group Limited have also embraced Bitcoin, where Genius Group Limited, for instance, purchased $5 million worth of Bitcoins as part of its Bitcoin First strategy. I'm not going to go through and read the rest of this, but effectively it's looking very possible that and probable that Meta will be adding Bitcoin to their treasury. Certainly they have a lot of cash as well. And as we saw in our assets worldwide, they are number 10 in most assets in the world, currently at $1.554 trillion. So that's a bit exciting, and I'd like to see a big company like that announce that they're going to put Bitcoin in their treasury reserve instead of just holding cash, traditional bonds and stocks. That would be nice to see. I was a little surprised that Microsoft shareholders turned it down a few weeks ago, but I feel strongly that Meta will adopt it. So good on them. It's going to be nice to see, one of the big guys. Once we see Meta adopt it, then other companies are going to feel like they've fallen behind or they can't fall behind. We'll probably see Google, Amazon. Tesla's already on the books with Bitcoin. So I'd like to see Apple, Nvidia, and funny enough, it would be kind of hilarious if everybody except Microsoft adopts Bitcoin. And of course, we're not going to see gold adopting Bitcoin, but we could see people selling their gold ETFs and putting them into a Bitcoin ETF. There is a theory that there's going to be a flippening between the two, and the money is going to flow out of gold and into digital gold, which is Bitcoin. And we shall see over time if that happens as well. Now, let's get into our newest segment, Ask AI. And today what we're going to do is we're going to ask it something it should do pretty well. I've done a couple of them in the past, and it's turned out pretty fast and pretty efficient. Past few days, we've put them to the test against each other, Grok versus Chat GPT. We first put them to the test with creating images, and we found that both created amazing images. Both listened to the request that we gave it and answered appropriately. We found that ChatGPT created more of a fantasy style pic, and Grok created more of a realistic, very realistic photo quality style pic. Then yesterday we put them both to the test against each other once again, and we created 2 emails, and they both did what we consider to be a great job and a equivalent job. ChatGPT was a little funnier, and Grok gave us a little more flexibility. So they both had their pros and cons, but they were both did an excellent job. So today, what we'll do is we'll give it a couple of requests to create some charts for us. And I've gone ahead and put in the first question and create a chart listing all U.S. presidents in history with their names and service dates. So we'll go ahead and hit them both pretty much at the same time, and let's see what we get. So we see Grok is already coming back with its answer pretty fast. And again, the question is create a chart listing all U.S. presidents in history with their names and service dates. And first President George Washington, John Adams, Henderson. Okay, so Grok just finished, and it gave us a list kind of in real time, and ChatGPT alternatively held it all back and then shot it out all in one Swoof, all on the screen in one shot, and we see they have displayed their chart in two different ways. I have received charts from Grok previously with this similar type of setup that Chat GPT has. Both ways you can certainly go through, copy what you need. I think in this case, it came up as an image. All right. So that worked out pretty well, and they both did a decent job, and they pretty much finished at about the same time. So let's give it something a little more challenging. Let's ask it. And just a quick note, as per the lessons we've been going through, one of the things that you can do, if this is the first time you're tuning in, is you can in fact ask the AI to create you a prompt. So for example, a good way to do this for images, for almost everything, is pose the question. So how, please generate me a prompt to create a list of all U.S. presidents, for example. So instead of saying, hey, create me a chart, we're saying, you know what? Tell me how to do it. And you can do this. Clearly, this is not something we need help with, but it still came back with a little more detailed information. Compile a comprehensive list of all the presidents in the U.S., including their full names and their dates they served in office. Arrange this list chronologically, stating from the first president, George Washington, including notable remarks such as if a president served on non-consecutive terms or died in office, but keep the primary focus on their names and service dates. So, see, I was just asking for the name and the date, but this came back and said, hey, do more. Consecutive terms. Put it in a chronological list. And then ChatGPT came back and said, create a comprehensive list of all U.S. presidents in chronological order. For each president, include full name, years of service, political party, notable facts. Organize the list clearly. You know what? Let's take these and let's actually post it right back into ChatGPT. And let's post this right back into Grok, and a lot more detail. So my simple request, they turned into a more complicated request, and now look at the details we're getting on GPT over there. It's telling us, you know, Republican Party, years of service, notable facts. It's really going into some detail on Grok, notable remarks, service dates. There's a lot more detail when you ask it to give you the prompt, like we did and what we've tested over the past few days. So definitely, even on a simple list like this, it was worth us saying, give us a prompt on how you would do it. And it's come back with more detail than I would have even thought of. So let's do the same and say, generate me a prompt to have a list of all countries in the world and their current leaders, because there's presidents, prime ministers, crown princes, a whole bunch of different things. So we're not going to say generate me a list. We are saying generate me a prompt. So let's see what it recommends in their prompt. And then we'll take that prompt and we'll basically plug it right back in. So it came back, create a comprehensive list of all countries in the world, alphabetically ordered by country name, including the name of their current head of state and, where applicable, the head of government. For each entry, specify the leader's title, president name, prime minister, king, and include any relevant notes such as interim or acting positions. If a country has both head of state and head of government, list both. Ensure the information reflects the most current leadership as of the date of creation. So, bam! That's some detail. So I'm going to pop that in, and Chat GPT came back with its own prompt, a little bit different, but similar. And we are going to, Chat GPT is kind of hung up on me here. So, write something. Okay, I'm going to write that, and then I'm going to hit enter. So it didn't work, so I put it where it's supposed to go, and we're going to start these simultaneously and see what we get. And I assume I'm going to have to make this a little bigger. So as we see the amazing photo that I created with ChatGPT many weeks ago, if not months ago. Just a vision of beauty here in a silver tone. Amazing picture. And if you want more information on how to create these types of images with ChatGPT or Grok, you will get more of a fantasy style picture, as we see in my background here with ChatGPT over Grok. And with Grok, you're going to get more realism. So let's see how these guys are doing here. And ChatGPT didn't even start. So let's plug it back in, and ChatGPT, edit or explain. No, we don't want any of that. Present list. Restore this version back to the latest version. You're viewing a previous version. Restore this version to make edits. Restore this version. I don't really want to make edits. I want you to give me a list. So there, it's also starting. No, it's not. So interestingly enough, ChatGPT's given some foolishness. So we really need to go into our task manager. Look what I'm having to do here. I've got to go in here and kill the process of ChatGPT if it's still running, and I don't see it. So let's go ahead and rerun ChatGPT. It's really just coming up with the same thing, but let's see if it actually is coming out with a list this time. Let's just say then, please create the above noted list. And there it goes. So, and we see on the left I assume it stopped at the M's. It was doing great, but Grok seemed to stop halfway through, which is interesting. I wonder if I did that. And so ChatGPT also stopped short. So their excuse was a shortened for brevity, but to be completed alphabetically for all countries. Interesting. Note, this list ensures accuracy and reflects leadership in government systems of 2025. If further updates are needed, please specify additional country details. All right. How many countries are there in the world? So I'm curious why it stopped halfway through, because they were both doing really well. 195 countries in the world, and Chat GPT is still thinking about it. Grok came back right away. So, and it came back also 195 countries in the world, 193 United Nations member states, and 2 observer states, Holy See and Palestine. Yeah, and they're both exactly consistent with that. So today, I was only moderately impressed. They did great in answering the U.S. presidents. However, they only gave a half list of the countries and their head of state or prime ministers. I presume if we had more prompts in there, like finish the list of all countries, and let's see, complete the list of all countries and heads of state that you started above. Let's see what they do. I am curious, and let's pump that into both Chat GPT and again, Chat GPT is come back with kind of a hung up state. I see what happened there, but did it finish? It did not. So you've hit the free plan limit. That's why. Okay. So Grok, I like it. They didn't tell me about any free plan limit, and they are still continuing to generate this chart. Whereas ChatGPT kind of stopped and said, pay. New chat responses. We'll use another model. Fine. New chat. Let's see if it completes the list. Yeah, so I would say in this situation, at least for the free version, Grok is the winner. Grok didn't come back and say, hey, you're limited to a certain amount of things per day. Leave me alone. Try again at 2 a.m. is what I got from ChatGPT. And I've only received that once before, even though I ask it many questions. Probably because I was asked for this big, comprehensive list. Maybe it's counting characters. I don't think Grok is counting characters, although it stopped again. Having said that, we're asking for pretty complicated things. But as you see, if you were trying to come through with a list and try to Google this list or try to, encyclopedias like my days, you'd be taking hours and hours and hours. Really, we just took a couple of minutes. And I think because we asked it for to create a prompt instead of just, hey, give us all the countries and their leaders, maybe it also was just trying to look for too much information. I'd like to maybe put it to the test again. It was a little inconclusive, but I would say that Grok, between the two, actually did a better job here. So Grok versus ChatGPT, I would say that today, in terms of lists, Grok's the winner here. So hopefully you found this helpful. Remember, everybody, that money is abundant and money is everywhere, and time is what is scarce. So spend your time wisely. Spend less money than what you earn. If you suddenly make more money, save more. Don't spend more, and start saving today. Start saving in your 20s if you can, and you might be able to retire when you're 40 instead of 65, 70. when you're not able to do the fun things that you love to do. If you've got a great idea, do start today, even if you're not ready, and eventually your idea and your promise will come together as one, and you will succeed with it. It may start slow, but you will get there. If you found this stream enjoyable, please share, like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next stream, folks.